We're going inside the toy box with Toy Story, so let's get cracking! Hello all my explorers, and welcome back to Loren's Adventures Out There. If you're new, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. My name is Loren, and I'm with Castles, Capes, and Clones, where we discuss everything in the Disney universe. We talk Disney, Pixar, Marvel, Star Wars, The Muppets, 20th Century, Disney Plus, Hulu, ABC. If it's about Disney, we will be talking about it. So if you like that kind of content, we would love it if you would subscribe to our channel, hit the bell for notifications, and do like this post, as it really does help us out. Okay, so we recently concluded our series from 0 to 60, which was our look at the films of Walt Disney Animation Studios in chronological order. And then I started a new feature called Behind the Castle Walls, which will be our look at the films of Walt Disney Animation Studios moving forward. And now we are creating another series called Inside the Toy Box, which will be our look at the films of Pixar in chronological order. And today we start with the very first film, 1995's Toy Story. The first entirely computer-animated feature film, as well as the first feature film for Pixar, Toy Story revolves around the toys owned by a boy named Andy. Woody is the head sheriff in town and starts feeling anxiety when Buzz Lightyear, a new toy who doesn't know that he's a toy, is added. While they begin as rivals, Woody and Buzz have to work together in order to get back to Andy and eventually become fast friends. In 1989, Pixar won an Academy Award for a short revolving around a toy tin soldier named Tin Toy. This garnered attention from Disney, who wanted to lure Pixar's co-founder, John Lasseter, to work with them again. Lasseter declined, feeling that the role with Pixar was history-making. So then Disney studio head Jeffrey Katzenberg sought a way for Pixar to produce a film for Disney. This was met with resistance at Walt Disney Animation Studios, who did not want to do a film with an outside studio. Katzenberg persisted, and Pixar agreed to work with Disney. They originally pitched a Christmas special entitled A Tin Toy Christmas, but Katzenberg pushed for them to make a full-length feature film. While Pixar creatives worked to flesh out the story, the executives negotiated the terms. Because Pixar was financially strapped, they ended up giving Disney the rights to the Toy Story films and characters, even if Disney decided not to work with Pixar on sequels in the future. Pixar would, however, get 12.5% of the ticket sales. These negotiations left a bad taste in the mouths of both Pixar owner Steve Jobs and Disney chair and CEO Michael Eisner. Originally, the story submitted by Lasseter, Andrew Stanton, and Pete Docter was going to star Tinny, the toy from Tin Toy, and a ventriloquist dummy named The Dummy. Katzenberg felt that there needed to be more contrast between the two characters and that the film should be a real buddy film. So they went back and wrote a treatment similar to what the film ended up being. The story then continued to make changes, with Tinny eventually being replaced by a military action figure and then became space-themed. He went through names like Ilaria Lunar, Tempest the Morph, and then eventually named him Buzz Lightyear, after legendary astronaut Buzz Aldrin. The dummy then went through his own changes, making him Western themed until he eventually became Woody. Disney also brought on the duo Joel Cohen and Alex Sokolow, and later Joss Whedon, to help develop the script. Whedon added Rex and Barbie, who was eventually switched out for Bo Peep when they couldn't get the rights to use Barbie from Mattel. He also suggested that Buzz not be aware that he was a toy, which would add further conflict. In early 1993, the script was approved and casting began. Disney wanted Paul Newman to play Woody. Robin Williams and Clint Eastwood were also considered. But Lasseter really wanted Tom Hanks for his appeal factor. They animated Woody to a scene from Turner and Hooch, and it sold Hanks on the role. For Buzz, they originally asked Billy Crystal, who turned it down because he didn't think the film would be successful, a decision he later regretted, but conceded that he would not have been right for the role. He eventually would accept another Pixar role as Mike Wazowski in Monsters, Inc. Bill Murray, Chevy Chase, Jim Carrey, Jason Alexander, Dan Aykroyd, Matthew Broderick, Kevin Costner, Michael J. Fox, Richard Gere, David Hasselhoff, Michael Keaton, who would later voice Ken in Toy Story 3, Wayne Knight, who later voiced Al in Toy Story 2, Bill Paxton, Dennis Quaid, Kurt Russell, Adam Sandler, and John Travolta were all considered for the role of Buzz. Lasseter ended up taking the role to Tim Allen, who gladly accepted. Also, before Wallace Shawn and Jim Varney were cast as Rex and Slinky Dog, Rick Moranis and John Cleese were considered for the roles. Hanks and Allen hadn't done an animated film before, so Pixar recorded the two together to get their timing and chemistry down. As Pixar began showing its work to Disney, Disney was not pleased with the plots. Katzenberg kept submitting notes to make the characters more edgy and to add adult references, as they wanted to appeal to both kids and adults. The result was making the characters more mean. Hanks even complained how Woody transformed into a real jerk. In November 1993, Pixar screened the film for Disney, and it was so disastrous that Walt Disney Animation Studios head Peter Schneider shut down the film. He urged Eisner to let him axe the project altogether. Katzenberg asked his colleague Thomas Schumacher why it wasn't working, and Schumacher said it's because it's not the film Lasseter wanted to make. Katzenberg let Lasseter go back to Pixar to fix the story while in shutdown. In the meantime, Pixar had to work on commercial work while the script was being worked on. All of this was personally funded by Jobs. Finally, Pixar came back with a film that pleased both studios. Jobs demanded that the budget be increased to make up for the money lost while in shutdown. Ed Catmull was able to negotiate the budget, but Jobs was so angered that he started rethinking the deal with Disney. 27 animators worked on the film using 400 computer models to animate the characters. Each character was first either created out of clay or modeled from a computer-drawn diagram before reaching the computer-animated design. Once the animators had a model, its articulation and motion controls were coded. Woody was the most complex, as he required 723 motion controls, including 212 for his face and 58 for his mouth. The film required 800,000 machine hours and 114 240,000 frames of animation in total, divided between 1,561 shots that totaled over 77 minutes. Disney wanted Toy Story to be a musical, but Pixar resisted because it felt like it would make the film less genuine. Instead, they agreed to add background music. Randy Newman was brought on to write 3 original songs, including You've Got a Friend in Me. He also scored the film. Before the film's release, Jobs stated, if Toy Story is a modest hit, say $75 million at the box office, will, Pixar and Disney, both break even. If it gets to $100 million, we'll both make money. But if it's a real blockbuster and earns $200 million or so at the box offices, we'll make good money and Disney will make a lot of money. Upon its release on November 22nd, 1995, Toy Story managed to gross more than $350 million worldwide. Toy Story went to become the highest grossing domestic film of 1995, beating Batman Forever, Apollo 3, which also starred Tom Hanks, Pocahontas, Casper, Waterworld, and GoldenEye. Toy Story scored 100% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes, with critical consensus stating, entertaining as it is innovative. Toy Story reinvigorated animation while heralding the arrival of Pixar as a family-friendly voice to be reckoned with. The film has become a lucrative franchise for both Disney and Pixar. 3 sequels and a spin-off in Lightyear have been produced. Last month, Disney announced that Toy Story 5 is on its way. The franchise has 3 lands at Disney parks internationally, with Toy Story-themed attractions throughout and beloved characters meeting guests at the parks. The film was nominated for 3 Academy Awards, 2 for Randy Newman for Best Music Original Song for You've Got a Friend Like Me, and Best Music Original Music or Comedy Score. It was also nominated for Best Original Screenplay for the work by Joel Cohen, Pete Docter, John Lasseter, Joe Ramft, Alex Sokolow, Andrew Stanton, and Joss Whedon, making it the first animated film to be nominated for an Academy Award writing category. So what did I think of Toy Story? I loved it when it first came out. I thought that it was a brilliant film. I still think it's a brilliant film, but it isn't my favorite Toy Story movie. Toy Story 3 is my favorite, followed by 2, followed by 1, followed by 4. I think when you watch the film again, you kind of see all the old technology and what they were not able to do at the time, like more realistic humans. You look at Andy or Sid, and they still look very kind of weird looking in terms of human. Now, that's not to fault them on that, because that's the technology that they had back then. And it was a masterpiece, just like Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. And I can understand why this franchise is one of Pixar's and Disney's best franchises. And if you haven't seen Toy Story, what have you been doing for the last 20-something years? Yeah, definitely check it out if you haven't. And let me know in the comments below if you like Toy Story or if you didn't like Toy Story. I'd love to hear from you. And with that, Thank you so much for joining us. If you had a good time, we would love it if you would subscribe to our channel, hit the bell for notifications, and do like this post, as it really does help us out. Visit us on all of our socials down below, and visit our website at www.castlescapesandclones.com. Thank you again, and we will see you later. Bye!